What it do, man? My faceteers. It's your boy Demarcus, and I am on episode, I believe, 14. And the fact that I'm able to look back and see that I've done 14, this will be 14 episodes, is crazy because a lot of times it's just you taking time and just putting effort into something. A lot of times we feel as if it has to be perfect starting now, and I'm someone that can be a perfectionist for sure. I can overthink a lot, just the way in which my mind moves, it's very in the clouds. And so at times that can also stop me from being able to move forward and doing some things. So a big thing for me, for the ones that have been listening to the podcast, and for the people that have been tuning in with me, and the ones that will see it later, because I only have one follower right now because I've only told a couple people about this. But my goal for this year has been to be dauntless. And when I say dauntless, that was my word initially for last year. But as I was going through the year, I wanted to really change the word to preparation, because what I was going through and what I was experiencing helped to prepare me for the level of dauntless that I want to get to. And when I think of the word dauntless, and for a lot of you all, you may not know what the word dauntless means, but dauntless to me means just being able to have a level of fearlessness and determination that's going to get you to whatever level that you want to get to in your life. And the definition of dauntless is showing fearlessness and determination. And so for myself, when I think about what that looks like and what that means, I don't look at it from a standpoint of having to be rah-rah and just have to do all these crazy mind tricks and things where you're just proving how strong you are. That's not even what that means to me. When you think about fearlessness and determination, I look at the steps that I'm taking in order to become a better individual, but also challenge myself whenever things may not be going in my favor. And so a big part of what I've been pushing myself through, and I'm going to be able to in other episodes go into more detail about this, but for this one, I want to get to a certain topic. With this process, my biggest thing is making sure that I'm pushing myself to new heights and new levels. And I can say for the past year and some change, I have been able to do that. And so it's been a very uncomfortable time for me, but the uncomfortability isn't something that I haven't experienced before in uncomfortable times. It's more so I would say it's a bigger picture, or it's a bigger part of the movie, and the other parts of the movie initially were different snippets. So by seeing the different snippets, now you get a chance to see their movie release. And so for me, from a life perspective, that's, hey, you've been through different parts, through different things like this, similar to it. You've been through different areas in your life where it may have been uncomfortable, but this is going to be a big challenge for you in your adulthood. So how can you use those things to push through and move forward with your life? And so that goes into my topic for today. But what I really wanted to discuss is, with the emotional intelligence that we've been talking about in the past, I want to discuss how your self-awareness is a true key to you becoming your best self, especially for us as men. When I think about myself as an individual, I get this comment a lot from friends. I've gotten it from family, that the way in which I see things and the way in which I'm able to catch on to things very, very quickly is on a different level. And when I used to get this when I was younger, I wasn't necessarily understanding it, because there were so many areas in which I was struggling in my life that I always felt that I was behind. And I felt that I was behind because from an experience level, I didn't really feel like I was having experiences that others were having around me. Now, as far as my way of being able to comprehend and understand things, I was doing that at a pretty decent rate when it came to, let's say just like book topics or studies or stuff in the news and all that. I could kind of grasp that pretty quick. But when it came to social keys, social norms, and experiences like that, I was someone that was a late bloomer. But a lot of times what I did, because I didn't understand what was going on, I'd be open to having conversations, and I'd be open to pushing to be in to being who I was, and showing my authenticity, even at times when it didn't feel uncomfortable, because I knew that I was a person that had multiple traits about me, and there wasn't just one thing that made up me as an individual. So one thing that I'm appreciative of for myself is that since I've been young, I would always find ways to be cool and close with different types and styles of people from all different backgrounds. And so I remember when I was younger, and there would be kids that everybody would say was weird, and there would be kids that like technology. There may be kids that like the anime, that like Yu-Gi-Oh, that like Beyblades, all that type of stuff. But I always found a way to be able to connect with each and every individual, even if it was something that I wasn't necessarily as interested in. And so as I got older, I realized that the more that I continue to be my best self, the more that I would continue to be able to run in two different types of people, and I'd be able to establish connections that other people would be shocked that I was able to connect with individuals in a certain way. And so the connections that I had, other people would be shocked because they're like, this person's strange, this person's weird, there's no way that anybody can connect with them. But I would still find a very strong way to connect with those individuals. And because of that, it's helped me to understand the world in a different way, and it's helped me to open up my lens to see people and perspectives in a totally different way. And that's caused me to be able to really get a head start, not a head start, because it caused me to truly catch up and get way past a lot of people, especially in my age range. And it's helped me to be able to elevate in ways where I'm able to attack different perspectives on life very early. So when I think about for myself, when I think about myself, I would have where older adults or elders, and this could be people I would say that was like 10, 20, 30, 40 years older than me. They would say, man, DeMarcus, you actually got these certain tools, the way that you talk, the way that you move in these environments, the way in which your mind's thinking, like you're definitely ahead of your time. And so hearing that at different points in my life, I was confused because, again, I was confused because I was confused why I wasn't having all these experiences that my peers and things were having. But as I continued to get older, I realized that even though I was someone that loved to talk and be able to express myself, I'm someone that always would take a step back and listen. And the biggest reason in which I love to be able to talk and express myself is because when I actually had to think about it, and when speaking to elders and even my parents and people that knew me back in the day, they would help me to realize how quiet of a person that I was. And so me being able to be as expressive as I am now, I even have to take a step back from myself and realize, DeMarcus, you weren't at this level when you were younger. And the reason being is because growing up as an only child, even though you can have friends and even though you can meet lots of different people, a lot of times you're going to be in your own space because not only do you have a lot of time to think, but you've got to find ways to connect with all different types of people because you're not around just one particular person at any given time. You may be going to the park, so you have to connect with different type of kids. You may be connecting with kids on the academic level at school with different organizations, so you're talking to different types of kids. You may be a person that's involved in sports, so you are mingling with the people that are playing sports. So you're going to have different conversations. Why? Because not only are you only mingling with these different types of people, but when you come back home, you don't have any brother or sister that you're communicating with. The only people that you're truly communicating with on a day-to-day basis is your parents. Now, it may be different if you have cousins and things nearby, but I didn't have a whole lot of cousins nearby and ones that were really my age, nor did I grow up with them. There may be times in which we were able to spend together, and if it was on a vacation here and there, but I can't really say I even had any cousins that I grew up with that were around my same age. We got a chance to really connect and go through experiences and stuff like that. So a lot of time I was on my own, and for myself, I felt out of place because the way in which I was grasping information from my peers and from experiences was at a very slow rate, and at a rate to where I had a lot of insecurities because I didn't understand why I wasn't fitting in the way some other people were. And so I say this because as you continue to grow and as you become older, you truly realize that when you're able to be a person that is willing to talk about themselves and share a level of authenticity, when you're truly able to take a step back and listen to people and hear different things that are going on, and you're a person that's able to become a visionary in rooms, you realize how much that you're going to be learning a lot more than the people that think that they have it all together. And I learned this early at a younger age because there were so many times in which I'm seeing people that are quote unquote good at sports. I'm hearing conversations from elders in the barbershops. I'm hearing all these different things. And so I'm trying to figure out, how can I be like such and such? How can I get this? How can I be able to better myself so I can have these attributes as well? But then as you continue to get older, you also realize that once you start stepping into certain spaces, you see how much of an impact that these people really have, and you see the ones that were just talking to talk, just to talk it, and you see the ones that are actually moving in ways to where what they're saying actually adds up. And for myself, what I would do is, a lot of time, I'll say early on, starting off in college, I would really challenge myself to first start off by just meeting a lot of people. So where I come from, in a very small town with less than 30,000 people, everybody knows each other. And especially for the black community, there's such a small percentage that at times it felt as if we were all together and there was a ton of black people that you grew up with. When you think about and when you think about how far that the town spreads out and how small it really is, you realize there ain't as many of us there. And so when I got to college, my goal was to be able to meet a lot of different people and meet people from different backgrounds and places that I can maybe get exposure to in a different type of way. And so it's funny because whenever I was about to go to college, I thought about potentially going to HBCU, which is Morehouse, at first. And it was because whenever I was in this black program in high school, we had a chance to go down there for a day. And one of the coaches I had at the time, he said he may have had some connections or something down there at Morehouse. And at the time, coming from the environment that I come from, you seen it as not only an all black school, but you seen it as just a boys' school. You're like, yeah, Spelman's around the corner, but you like, I don't really know about this, because you just thinking about how, you may want to connect with ladies, be going to an all guys school. It may seem like some of those border schools the kids go to whenever they're, playing sports and going through the day to day. You're just thinking of all these different things where you're not looking at it from a perspective of growth. You're not looking at it for what opportunities may be there. And that's not saying I would have gotten to Morehouse. The coach said he had some connections, but I don't know. But when you're thinking about that, from especially growing up and growing into your best self as a young boy, you want to have experiences. You want to be able to be in a space to where you also are connected with different types of people. And so I was, even for myself at first, somebody that's very big on black this, black that. Like I'm really big on my culture. I'm someone too that was like, you know what? I don't know if I necessarily want to go to a all black college. I want to be able to be in a space where I can be around different types of people and where it can be truly diverse. And so when I chose to go to the University of Louisville, that was quote unquote the most diverse school in the state. And then, what was it? K-State is the one that was, known as the predominantly black, was known as the HBCU in the state. And so, anyways, when I got to U of L, I had the chance, to be able to see different types of people in different cultures. But one thing that ended up being, what worked out is that most of the people, I would say 90% of the people I was around was black folks. So when it came to the day-to-day, when it came to organizations, even though that was a predominantly white institution and hella white people, like the people I connected with the most, and still to this day, is the black people. And so it's funny enough when you think about, when you go through experiences and then you realize what exactly the experience is like, then it helps you to reflect back on, like, man, it wouldn't have been no issue at a Morehouse, because when I'm connecting with other brothers, then when it comes to different events and stuff like that, we can pop over to Spelman. They got cold women over there, but you're not realizing that because of the way in which people before you haven't really spoke about it. When you're not connecting with family members that may have been in those environments, so you don't have access to them, you're not really realizing those things. And So a lot of times when we think about like family and stuff, this is why it's so important, because I have family members that went to HBCUs, but the way in which they spoke about it wasn't really much of a, from a success standpoint. It was like, hey, I went down there for a few semesters, I was messing around or whatever, and then I was out of there. But the point that I'm getting to is that whenever I got to college, I was kind of just sharing that story, about how I was able to be in different environments as an only child, how I met with different types of people, and then in college, from my experience, when I also, even though I was around mostly black folks in my experience, I still had a lot of interactions with other people that weren't black. But the point that I'm getting to is that I had the ability to connect with all different styles of people, and so let's say if it was just with the black community, there were people I got a chance to connect with that were from different cities, different backgrounds, people that were only children like me, people of different religions, people of, different statuses, people that were athletes, people that weren't, just all different types of experiences. And so college was a big space for me to be able to understand and me to be able to reflect on my self-awareness as an individual. And so I came into college knowing that, hey, I'm away from home, which I really wanted to be, but now I'm in a position where I can be on my own and I got to make my own decisions. So what does that come with? Hey, let's do what we naturally are really, really good at. But at the same time, let's take this as a way to be able to learn how to better ourselves. So for my first week when I got to college, I was meeting hella people. And it's funny because when you're young like that, you're just getting out of high school. Everybody kind of has like that friendly culture of, hey, I want to connect with everybody. I'm trying to connect with many people as possible. But it's sad because that's kind of the turning point for where a true adulthood starts to hit, because right there you're 18 years old and everybody's just trying to connect and trying to be cool with everybody. But as you continue to grow, then you start to run into the fake individuals, the people that want to be cliquish. You start running into just differences of opinions, differences of interests, and you realize how much of a difference it'll make whenever you're putting in the work to truly understand how to become self-aware and how to understand your emotional intelligence as a young age. So for myself, what I would do is I would challenge myself to be a part of different organizations. A lot of times when I was speaking to older individuals, I would sit down and just listen to what they had to say. I would always be able to take the situation and listen to understand how a story was being told. I would sit back and listen to somebody's opinion, or listen to a topic. And what I would always do is think about it from my own perspective and try to see how I felt about it and speak openly about, my feelings and how I felt the situation was. And this was huge for me because as a person that connected with a lot of people, I wasn't someone that was the most outspoken. And I felt, a lot of times because of my childhood that I wasn't able to be as outspoken because people didn't really give me the space for that. And also too, like when it came to my household, like you have that black household where it's like, no, you can't talk back, you can't say nothing, like this is you under my roof. And so for me as an individual, especially one that's very creative, one that just thinks differently and that just thinks very, very broadly, that was hard for me because a lot of perspectives and things that I had in my mind, I'm thinking about this, I'm getting this out when I'm by myself, but I'm not necessarily able to get this out when I'm around other people. And so there were times like when I was in the household, for instance, and my parents would say, hey, this is the right way, and this is what actually happened, when I'm realizing that like the result of why this such and such situation happened is because of this other answer, or the reason why, I'm acting this way is because of the way you're coming off to me. And so when you're able to take a step back and recognize things early, a lot of times you hear even from parents or from other people that the result of something is because of this, and that. But a lot of times parents are not taking the step back to say, you know what, let me hear from the child's perspective to see what they've gained from it, because I'm only going to see it from what I've experienced and what I've heard or what I've been told. But the child may be very on point and they could be right, but if they're not given the space to be able to express themselves, then they're going to run into a wall. And so that wall is going to become a blocker where they could be totally right 3 out of the 4 times. But because the parent is looking at themselves as the oldest and they're looking at themselves as quote unquote the expert, they're going to look at themselves as right more than they are going to look at it as wrong, until the child gets to a point to where they may be, lashing back at them, or just saying things to be able to try to get their point across. Same thing for speaking with people that are older than you. Like, I remember in a lot of environments, I would hear some of the individuals talk, and I'm like, there were some people that I respected a whole lot and felt that their points were very, very on point and on par. And there was others where I would look around and being like, bruh, or Shawty, you experiencing this because of how you're choosing to show up, or this is happening, or this experience, you got this result because of how you approached it. And a lot of times, again, I would have to be quiet because, or I feel that I did because I didn't have necessarily the experiences that others had in order to have credibility to talk about the situation, even though I felt that I knew what the result of it was. But a lot of times that's just because we live in a world to where people are so big on, you have to have this exact experience to be able to understand the situation. So going back to the college thing, for myself, a lot of times I would just sit around and I would hear conversations. I would see how older guys were moving. I remember my boy, I always remember this, my boy Taj. He was a Kappa at U of L, and I remember when I first was on campus, and he was one of the first brothers that came up to me, and I didn't even know who he was. So I was just walking to class one day, and he said, "Yo, bro, what's good with you, man?" And I'm looking around. I'm like, "Bro, you talking to me?" He's like, "Yeah, what's good with you, bro?" And it's like I didn't even know him from a can of paint. Like, I didn't know, I've never seen him before. This is my first time interacting with him, and we just went up. He said, "What's your name, man?" We just chopped it up. I was like, "DeMarcus." He said, "My name's Taj, man. Welcome to campus. If you need anything, I got you. But just definitely want to introduce myself and just show you who the brothers are on campus." And I'm telling you, people like him, my boy Jacory that I actually grew up and stuff with, guys like this are the reason that I'm able to truly be my best self, because the energy that somebody like Taj gave that first day of me meeting him, it never changed up to the day that he graduated. And even to this day, whenever I see him or when I get a chance to connect with him through Instagram and stuff like that, the energy never shifts. And so for my boy Jacory, to this day, he's someone that even in high school, he was connecting with me and stuff and telling me about, U of L, because he was a few years before me. And so he's kind of giving me the game and insights. And at the time, I didn't really get to connect with him as much, since we had gotten older. But he's someone that always led by example in a way to where it was like, hey, you can be your best self. Hey, you're still learning as a young black man, but bro, I'm gonna still look out for you. And so I remember one time as well too, when I was a part of the National Society for Black Engineers. This is also a turning point for me. My boy Jamal McFarland, we were standing in line, and Jamal, he bought everybody that was a part of our chapter in line, he bought them all food. And I said, I'm the type of person where it's like, man, hey bro, you ain't got to do this, man. I'm someone that just loves giving and caring as well. And to this day, that has stuck with me, because he said, DeMarcus, he said, listen, this is on me, brother. He said, if anything, the best way that you can repay me back is by making sure that you do this for somebody else when you move forward in your life. Make sure that you're giving it back to somebody else. And that always stuck with me, because I knew how I felt in that moment. I knew how sincere it was. And again, this is an older brother speaking to me in ways where it's like, you know what? It's not about you just giving it back to me. It's about you being able to pass it on, because as men, as women, we should be doing this for each other, especially in the black community. Like, there's no reason that we shouldn't be looking out for one another and everything. And again, it's not that you're going to be able to connect with each and every individual. If you could connect with everybody in the world, then we wouldn't have any controversies in the world. But if you're someone that is truly a giving and caring person in your heart, and you're not looking for any type of reciprocal energy to where somebody has to give it back to you or whatever, the blessings are going to come, because you're going to feel in your heart that you were able to change a life. And especially if you're in a position where you can do that, that's going to help you to want to do it even more. And so for myself, man, I kid you not, like, my self-awareness as an individual, and those are just a few examples. Like, big examples was the way in which my pops was telling me about stuff when I was growing up. Like, so many things he put me on game. And from a woman's perspective, my mom, we eventually have been able to connect in such a beautiful way. And then even as far as for my uncles and all that, the way in which I would hear the barbershop talks and see certain things, like, these are ways in which I would be able to gain my self-awareness early, because I'm soaking up all the game. I'm someone that's hella quiet. So by me being quiet early on, I'm someone that may want to say something, but I'm kind of afraid to, or scared to say. I'm afraid to shoot my shot, or be able to say this thing to a woman. I'm afraid to be able to express how I really feel. So at the same time, all I'm doing is soaking in all this game. So whenever DeMarcus pushes himself to that point of being able to say what he wants to say, he'll be ready. And so it's funny that now at 28 years old, all the different times of when I went through struggles on, as far as, trying to figure out who I was, being able to find that authenticity in myself, it prepared me for these type of moments, because now I'm at a point to where my self-awareness and emotional intelligence is on a different type of level. And especially as a man, I'm able to catch things and be able to see the world in a different lens. A lot of times for people that are a lot of times in a way where I'm more advanced than the people that are a lot older than me. And so this even comes into my dating experience. Like, I've dated women that were, 13 years older. And as far as the relationship, it was great. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's something to where you get respected because of who you are as an individual. But you also realize, and this is the big thing, you realize that there's a lot of people that are about that talk versus being about that action. So I'm someone that realized that, hey, I can meet someone that's older. I can meet people who are older that haven't had the experiences that I have, even at 28 years old. And the reason being is because it's easy just to continue just to talk about what you want to do. And it's also easy to stay complacent or in a comfortable space when you experience things. But when you want something different for yourself and you challenge yourself, you're going to experience different types of situation. And when it comes to self-awareness and things, for me, I really take into account like how I show up for people around me and how they show up for me. If I'm around someone and they're telling me, "Hey, DeMarcus, like based on how you said this, like it kind of set me off. Like you just said this and it hurt my feelings." That's not something I should just throw by the wayside. That's something I really need to take into account and advise myself on. Hey, is this something we need to work on, or is this something that this person's just nagging about? And most of the time it's something that you need to work on, because you are realizing that, hey, you're saying what you think you need to say. You also are speaking in a way to where you're trying to express yourself and be authentic, but you're more so going to be stronger in your feelings because of the traumas that you went through and because of the times you didn't have a space to speak. So now you want to speak up more because it's new to you, and you're letting out all these things, and you're being able to push yourself in a way that you haven't did before. So it's new to you. And so even in relationships when I was younger, all these different things, like all those things that I was told and all the things that I've experienced, it's helped me to become the person that I am today. And the level that I'm at, I am so appreciative for and so thankful for, because I'm at a level to where I've been told I'm very advanced and I'm at a high level with it. But to me, I'm continuing to learn and put myself in spaces where I can learn. It's something that I enjoy because I'm learning something new all the time. But it's a area where I constantly, when I say I constantly, daily, I constantly put the work into, and I constantly reflect and see how can I improve myself and what can I better myself on with so many life situations. This is not something where I'm like, hey, you know what, I'll just deal with it later. I love dealing with things in the moment. And if it's something where I do need to take a bit of time and reflect, and something where I'm going to be processing over multiple days, because I want to see how I can be able to get to the best resolution. So